Happy Saturday, folks, on this beautiful Saturday here in the great state of Michigan. There's not much going on in regards to news for our Detroit Lions, so I wanted to come up with the subject, at least something that we can talk about. I love doing the mailbag segment and stuff like that, generally speaking, on a Saturday. I kind of have seen all the questions, so I'm just going to go through a lot of them and just kind of discuss things that has been relevant, that has been asked to me, and what I think about it, since there's not anything really going on right now. And so one of the biggest concerns, at least that I'm getting from the fan base, and, what is the outlook of the Detroit Lions going to be like this year post Frank Ragnow retirement, post changing of the offensive line, Zeitler and Ben Johnson and all of that. So that's one of the things we'll talk about in today's video. Just get into the outlook. What can we expect? The Lions, are they better this year than they were last year? Or the win-loss record? All of that stuff. So, look, losing Frank Ragnow, we know, is a big deal. I do think that the Lions can recover at the end of the year, but I do think that it will affect, at least for the first portion of the season. Not just for the fact that he's not there, but you have two other players next to him. So it's about that continuity in the offensive line. It is an important aspect to an offensive line, and we as Lions fans, we know this, right? We know when you had players in the past, like Frank when he was injured or whoever, it really would affect it. So we know the importance of that. So I think it's going to take a little bit time to gel this offensive line. Whoever's going to play center is not going to be as good as Frank Ragnow this year for sure. It's not going to happen. With that said, we do got to understand that Ragnow was injured in the past a lot of times, and you had Glasgow fill in. We've had players fill in for injuries, Audi, Kewusika, all of that stuff, and we did pretty good. Why? Why did we do pretty good? Because we have a coach named Fraley who is magnificent at his job, and he knows how to get the best out of his players. And so that's why I do feel it will get better, specifically as the year goes on, and the Lions are in a position by the end of the year to make a run for sure. That's what we all would like to see here, but make no mistake about it. Losing Frank Ragnow is a big deal, and not just him, too. Again, having the others on the offensive line. What do you guys think? What's the Lions' win-loss record after losing Frank Ragnow? Before I had it as 12, what do you guys have? When I look at the Lions' schedule, and I talked about this in the One Pride podcast on Thursday, is that I do think that the win-loss total will decrease by a game or two. When you look at a football game, sometimes it just comes down to a couple plays. We've seen that last year many times, and the Lions were on the positive end of that. I can see a situation now will be on the back end of that because of a player like Frank Ragnow not there. We talked about, but this is why I'm concerned, but at the same time, I know we're a resilient bunch. Last year, our defense took a major hit, right? And they still kept fighting on, even though the wheels fell off, specifically in the playoffs. Once Meek went down, I felt like that was the straw that broke the camel's back, specifically in that game. But I also talked about, everyone said that, our defense is healthy, now we can make the run. But I've been saying all offseason is, what if there is injuries to the offense, unlike it was last year? Last year, the offense was pretty healthy, well, for the most part, for sure. The defense now is really healthy, and so when I look at Frank Ragnow leaving, I kind of feel like, okay, maybe he's I put it as he's out for the year, like Aiden Hutchinson is out for the year, and they still can move on. They can still get their work in, and they know this now, so they can put in the effort into Tate Ratledge and Graham Glasgow and Miles Frazier and whoever they want to on this offensive line, and you have to trust in our coaches, and I do. I 100% trust in our coaches. Absolutely do. What they did last year was amazing. And I'm not going to just put this on Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, folks. That's ridiculous. There's a lot of coaches, and we lost a lot of coaches, but they replenished them with really good coaches. That is the whole point. You still have the man in Dan Campbell. Calvin Shepard, I always thought he was a great coach. And I think he'll do a phenomenal job. I think a lot of people expected that he would be the guy that fills in, right? And so that's what occurred. So I feel that the Lions will be a good team this year, for sure. They still got the players. Folks, you have to have players to make big-time plays. And the Lions got big-time playmakers. Look at this. You look at Penei Sewell. He's just the best that there is, right? You have Jahmyr Gibbs. You have David Montgomery. Taylor Decker's pretty darn good. Got a great wide receiver core. St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Tim Patrick, Isaac Tesla, great tight ends, right? Sam LaPorta, Jared Goff was playing at a really high level last year, top 5 for sure. The defense is starting to get healthier, right? Hendon Hutchinson is back. We got to wait for Alim. He'll be the halfway. But you can see that this team is full of talent. The secondary is ridiculous. This is a good team. So even though we lost coordinators, the Lions are a good team. You got to have players. You got to have players to make plays. Again, how many wins do you have the Lions getting this year? And we got those players on this football team. We do. And the development too. That's the next part. Right? We have players that's been developing. Now last year, if Derek Barnes wouldn't have gotten hurt, I thought he would develop into a stud. We've seen the development of all these players, whether it be free agents and or players they draft. They get better when they come to Detroit. It's a testament to the coaching staff, right? Alex Anzalone got better when he was here. Kalif Raymond got better when here. Clearly, when we drafted these guys, they get better, and better. Testament to the coaching staff. So, knowing that, you would believe they're able to coach these younger players up. Now, some players like a Brodric Martin, I feel like, is a lost cause. Sometimes it's on the player. But I do believe with the talent that they have in this team and the players that they do bring into this organization, that they can always get the best out of whatever they got. They can make lemonade out of a rock, okay? This is what this coaching staff can do, and it's an amazing job. So having that in there, the Lions are going to be a good team. So I'm not concerned about that. Will they make the playoffs? I do believe they make the playoffs for sure. Their win-loss record, I do think is going to be down. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're a worse team this year than they were last year. I do think they are a little bit. If Frank was still on the team, I'd say, it's pretty even, right? But losing Frank, it is a little bit worse as of right now. Right now, you don't know the development of these young players that they put on this offense. What if the offensive line, Mahogany comes in is better, right? And then we expect at the guard position, and and I think he's going to be great. Tate Ratledge and all that. So we just don't know until we don't know. But we do got the young players, and we do got the coaching staff to get it done. So I'm not concerned there. Once you get to the playoffs, folks, it doesn't matter how you started the regular season. It doesn't matter. We could start out slow this season, right? We could start out, be like 500. Won't matter if you start to go on a win streak and these players are developing at the end of the year. Does it matter that you had 15 wins or 12 wins? 12 wins put us to the NFC Championship 15 minutes away from a Super Bowl. 15 wins knocked us out of the playoffs in the first round. I don't care about the wins at this point. I want a championship. I want a Super Bowl. I want the city of Detroit to raise a Lombardi trophy. I want Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Sheila Ford Hamp. I want Jared Goff. I want everybody to be able to have that chance of glory. And, yes, it is good to have the more wins for sure. Every wins, we all want to win. But I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to win a playoff game, win a Super Bowl, and see my team hold that trophy. And they can do that. Let's talk about, I hear about this, the Lions window. The window. The Lions window is going to be closed in a year or two. That's what I've been hearing. I'm going to ask you how. I want to know an explanation of why that is. How is the window going to be closed within 2 years? Jared Goff's 30 years old. Plenty of time, right? And say that they eventually want to get a new quarterback. Okay, they could do that, right? But he's 30 years old. Penei Sewell, young player. Taylor Decker, he's not too young, but we're already grooming new offensive line. We literally just drafted a bunch of offensive line, so the offensive line right now is in that change. By next year, this offensive line is pretty good. again, like it always was. They keep changing the player out, and Giovanni Manu is developing. Now, it's going to be a little bit, but he's getting better each year. And if he doesn't develop, they can always get a new one, right? You can always draft another player. You got Jahmyr Gibbs, young player. Dave Montgomery, still good in his prime. And we're talking about a number 2 running back. Say one of these guys, you got someone, if you just draft another guy, right? So it's not a hard position to replace, even though we love David Montgomery. The wide receivers are young, all of them. They're all young, except for Tim Patrick, who we just did his replacement. Kalif Raymond, we did his replacement in a draft. So it's young. The offensive line is young. Okay, it's young. Besides Graham Glasgow, and this is probably his last year in Detroit. Mahogany, Miles Frazier, Tate Ratledge, Penei Sewell. That's pretty young. Taylor Decker is the older one, so we're on the young age. Go to the defense. Okay? Hutchinson, young. Alim McNeill, young. Tyleik Williams, young. We don't have really the opposite guy. We pick up Amon-Ra St, right? So we're talking about development for the future. I don't care about the current, like the super older veterans. Right? You have the linebacking core. Derek Barnes, young. Jack Campbell, young. Alex Anzalo's getting a little bit older. He's older veteran. That's just a linebacker there. The secondary is all young. Terry Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch. Our kicker, young. Our punter, it's a punter, and he's young, Jack the Goat Fox. He's not just, he's the GOAT. How we only got 2-year window? I know other teams are getting good. Other teams are always going to get good, especially the NFC North. It's already good. It's good last year. It's going to get better. But what does that mean? How is the Lions window over? You have a general manager that can draft. Yes, we got money and contracts coming up. Whoop-de-doo. You just continue to draft the players. You're going to lose a player, you draft their replacement. And if you have a competent general manager, they can get that player. So I'm not concerned about the future of this football team. We're going to be a good franchise for many, many years. Many, many, many years. Give me your thoughts in the comments, folks. With that said, adios.